I'm back, and honestly, it's tough to pick where to start. In Detroit, the action's been non-stop. Two vets arrived to beef up the offense and defense. We saw a young corner going through some serious growing pains with the coach needing to back him up. Then there was a massive trade rumor involving a multi-million-dollar NFL superstar. And finally, a bloody scene that became an instant symbol of pure grit. And that last one, my friend, is the stuff of legends. But before I dive into every detail of this whole crazy saga, let me ask you a favor, fan to fan. Hit that subscribe button. It costs nothing, it's totally free, and it powers up this virtual stadium like you wouldn't believe. Drop a like too, because that tells YouTube to spread this conversation to more Lions fans worldwide. And sound off in the comments, because this space is ours, it belongs to everyone living the one pride. I'll admit I was a little surprised because the Lions made some significant moves right before Week 4. The front office announced 2 additions that might not scream blockbuster, but absolutely make a difference day to day. Tight end Ross Dwelley was officially promoted to the active roster, and veteran Quinton Jefferson arrived to reinforce the defensive line. This is that silent, savvy type of move that only the diehards truly appreciate. Dwelley had already played against the Ravens, coming up from the practice squad, but now he's got a permanent spot. Honestly, I like the profile. He's a well-traveled guy, 102 NFL games, experience with San Francisco and Atlanta, always ready to contribute. He's not here to challenge Sam Laporta, our undisputed starter, or Brock Wright, but he's here to give us that essential security when the rotation gets tight. And trust me, in long games, special teams snaps, all that weight adds up. He's had some solid moments in his career, 9 starts back in 2020, clutch touchdowns, nearly 12 yards per catch average. He's not a star, but he is reliable. And if there's one thing this franchise learned the hard way, it's that depth matters. When we lost key players in the past and had to scramble, the fan base suffered. Today, at least, we're better prepared. On the other side of the ball, Jefferson brings serious weight to the DL. The guy has 115 league games, having rotated through the Seahawks, Raiders, Bills, Jets, and even the Browns. He's not a direct replacement for Marcus Davenport, who's on injured reserve, but he delivers experience and consistency. In 2021, for example, he logged 16 quarterback hits. In 2023, he tallied 6 sacks for the Jets. Not bad at all for an emergency reinforcement just rolling in. And I'll tell you what, Detroit showed against Baltimore that even without Davenport, the motor hasn't quit. Lamar Jackson was taken down 7 times, tying his career worst. That shows the defense's fight, but it's also a warning sign. You can't sustain that pace on sheer will alone. We need fresh bodies, guys who can step in and hold the line. Jefferson is exactly that kind of veteran who won't be rattled. The truth is, the arrival of both players is a clear signal that the front office is focused on the details. These aren't national headline moves, but it's the kind of roster construction that separates the teams who just dream from the teams who actually compete. And let's be real, you can't underestimate the importance of having players ready when starters go down. The Detroit grit isn't just a catchy phrase, it's an NFL survival strategy. This is the Lions fans' perspective you only get right here from someone who's seen a lot of improvisation turn into disaster. Comment below if you agree. Is depth a hidden weapon in this league? And hang on, because the next story taps into our future, and it's a big deal. Look, there's a delicate situation brewing in our secondary. Terrion Arnold, our first-round pick, is already a talking point because the coaching staff decided to give more playing time to veteran Amick Robertson. And a lot of people immediately jumped to the conclusion, oh man, they're benching the kid because he's struggling. But hold on. That's not exactly the case. Defensive coordinator Kelvin Shepard made sure to clarify. According to him, Amick has been earning his way onto the field since last year. This isn't a punishment for Arnold, it's a reward for the vet. Still, of course, when you see a promising rookie losing snaps, you can't help but wonder. And to be frank with you, we have to look at the context. Arnold was thrown into deep water, often isolated against dangerous receivers, sometimes without safety help, literally on an island. That's a ton of responsibility. Shepard spoke openly. Half of the win against the Ravens was only possible because Arnold held his own in man coverage, shutting down runs, making quick decisions. But cornerback is a tough, thankless position. If you mess up 2 or 3 plays, everyone remembers it. Meanwhile, a lineman can get beat 7 times and nobody says a word. Fair? Hardly. But it's the reality of the game. And there's more. Shepard pointed out the kid is only 22. He's learning, he's adjusting, and these growing pains are completely normal. The difference is that his every move becomes a topic on national TV, while other mistakes fly under the radar. As an old-school fan, I've seen this movie before. We burned through a lot of talent in the past because we lacked patience. We can't repeat that mistake now. Arnold showed huge confidence during training camp, especially going against Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. The challenge is translating that energy to a real game against opponents who aren't cutting him any slack. And that's where the coach's responsibility comes in, turning practice into performance. It's a team effort, not just on the kid. Now, I'm not going to pretend I'm not worried. If we want to compete at the top, the secondary can't afford to slip up. The Packers, Bears, Vikings, everyone will be testing those deep routes. The fans are already demanding more, and rightly so. Because while Hutchinson and the DL bring the pressure, the back end has to hold up. But I repeat, this isn't drama. It's a learning curve. Arnold has the talent, the physique, the attitude. What he lacks is experience. And you get experience by playing, by messing up, by getting back up. If the coaching staff maintains balance, we'll have a solid corner for the next decade. If they rush it, they could break him. You only get this kind of fan-to-fan insight here, from someone who's seen promises turn into stars and others vanish. Comment below if you also think patience is key here. And hold on tight, because the next news throws Detroit right into the middle of Blockbuster rumors. And it's huge. This one got me hyped because it's not every day the Lions' name pops up in Blockbuster trade rumors. We're talking about none other than Jeffrey Simmons, a Pro Bowl defensive tackle with a monster $94 million contract. Can you imagine him lining up next to Hutchinson, an inside-out combo that would keep any quarterback up all night? But before we get too excited, let's break down the situation. An analyst for USA Today put Simmons on a list of players to monitor until the November trade deadline. And guess which team he pointed to as a potential candidate? That's right, our Detroit Lions. The reasoning was clear. The team has shown a Super Bowl look against Baltimore, but they need reinforcement to avoid repeating 2024 when injuries and lack of depth cost them dearly. Simmons is coming off a solid season, 5 sacks, 45 pressures, a constant force in the middle of the defense. He's the kind of guy who can occupy 2 blockers and still make an impact. If you pair that with Hutchinson, the damage would be enormous. The defense would find balance and Ford Field would genuinely shake. But there's always a but. His contract is massive, a cap hit over $20 million per season, while the front office is trying to finalize an extension with Hutchinson himself. Putting both on the same payroll would be next to impossible. And honestly, I'd rather keep our homegrown hero than bring in an outside star and cripple our financial future. Plus, let's remember, we already have DJ Reader, the rookie Tylik Williams, and soon the return of Aleem McNeil. It's not like we lack talent in the interior. The real gap is on the edge, because Davenport is on IR and Pascal has been out since the final cuts. In other words, the real need might be to look for an edge rusher. Names are circulating. Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals could become an option if Cincinnati gives up on the season without Burrow. Kayvon Thibodeau of the Giants is another name being floated, still young and full of potential. Those would fit better within the salary cap and the team's actual needs. But the mere fact that Simmons is being considered shows how far we've come. When did Detroit ever appear in these kinds of rumors? We used to be a selling team, not a buying one. That, my friends, is a sign of respect. The league is looking at the Lions as a contender, and that in itself is a huge win. You only get this unfiltered bleacher seat take right here. Comment below. Would you risk Simmons and that massive contract or stick to the safer plan? Because the next story isn't about rumors. It's about blood, sweat, and stitches. And this one will give any fan chills. This last one is the kind of story that becomes a legend in the stands. Jack Campbell, our linebacker, played nearly half the game against the Ravens with his face wide open, bleeding. The guy took an accidental kick to the face, went to the sideline thinking he just bit his lip, and found out in the medical tent that his skin was torn open. He got stitches, came back out, and didn't miss a single snap. That is Detroit grit running through his veins. Campbell said afterward that, in the heat of the moment, he didn't even feel the pain. He only realized how bad it was when he looked in the locker room mirror. During the game, the doctors essentially glued the wound with surgical adhesive, and he returned as if nothing happened. He ended up going to the plastic surgeon later for a permanent sew-up, and the incredible part, he treated it like it was just a scratch. To be honest with you, I saw a lot of people glorifying the moment. And he himself said anyone could do that. You just breathe, call the play, and go. Unbelievable humility. But the truth is, not everyone faces pain and blood like that. especially as a central piece of the defense, the Mike linebacker, responsible for organizing everyone on the field. And it wasn't just resilience. Campbell was clutch. On that fourth down near the end zone, he pressured Lamar Jackson, forced the fumble, and changed the game. Bleeding and leading, all in the same package. It was a movie scene, but it was real. Anyone who follows this team knows, these moments become part of the One Pride soul. Sure, he's got a history of getting banged up. He got elbowed and split his head back in high school basketball. But in the NFL, playing in prime time, it's different. It's a symbol of character. It's not that the fans want to see blood, but seeing a player refuse to quit inspires everyone. It shows it's not just talent, it's the will to represent Detroit. And look, that affects the locker room too. Young guys like Arnold see that kind of attitude and understand the standard. That's what builds a winning culture. It's not just about technique, it's about mentality. And Campbell, in his third year, has already taken on that role. You only get this unfiltered fan-to-fan breakdown right here. Comment below if you also think Campbell is becoming a symbol of this team's toughness. Because now, after these 4 stories, comes the final takeaway. And it's bold. After all this, it's impossible to deny. The Lions are building something special. Discreet but important reinforcements have arrived. A young corner is going through the tough process of becoming a star. Blockbuster rumors show the league's respect, and a linebacker bleeding on the field has become a symbol of toughness. It's all connected by the same thread. This team doesn't back down from a fight. I'll say it without hesitation. Detroit has never been this close to turning hope into reality. Comment below, because this space belongs to everyone living the One Pride. And join us for the next video. The conversation never stops.